So in the springtime, one of the things that happens is the ice begins to melt. The sunlight melting the ice, melting the snow. The Zen teacher Hakuin, a while back, he used to use the image of ordinary beings being like ice, and then Buddhas, or like awakened beings, being like water. So it's like that essence is the same, water, ice, but there's something there that is different as well. If you think about like in your life and in your meditation practice, if you're sitting with yourself, being yourself, there's typically going to be things that come and go, different thoughts, different feelings, different memories, physical stuff, sensations. And some of that stuff might feel pretty stuck, pretty solid, pretty frozen, pretty ice like, so to speak. It's almost like you can feel it sometimes. I know for me, I can feel it kind of get lodged in my body somewhere, maybe here or in my belly. But so it can feel frozen, it can feel stuck at times. We can feel like a block in a way. But Hakuin is talking about like what's it like when that becomes water, when there's a flow to it, when it's moving and open and not stuck in one place as a solid thing. So that kind of process of moving more and more from the frozenness, from the iceness to water, to flow, to being more like a process, letting things come and go freely. He says that, that's pointing us towards the sunlight melting the ice. And the sunlight is basically your attention in your practice, just in your life. If you can just be there right with the frozenness, if you can just kind of have like a kind, open awareness around whatever that is. Maybe it's a feeling of like irritation that's locked in your tissues. Maybe it's a memory of when you were in fifth grade and something really embarrassing happened to you. Maybe it's trauma from when you were really young. Whatever it is, if you can just kind of hold that and be there with that, with this sunlight quality, with just this awareness, this openness, just being with whatever that is in a accepting way, then that has an effect. We're not trying to do anything with the ice. We're just being there with it and actually turning towards it, shining the sunlight on it. And that act of shining the sunlight, of being with whatever that is, it has a very gentle, transformative effect. It begins to melt. It begins to change. That feeling that you thought was you and would never go away actually begins to melt and to dissolve and to change and to move and to take on different forms. It's kind of like that energy begins to get unlocked. If you think about a river or a stream in the winter that begins to ice over, and maybe there's snow on the ice. And as we move into the spring, that, the warmer weather, the sunlight begins to melt it. And, sometimes you can't even tell that anything's going on. It's just still ice, it's still snow. But there comes a point then where actually it really starts to flow more and more. That ice begins to break off into the stream. The snow melts. And sometimes all of a sudden, it's almost like an exponential effect there. It's like nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. Something starts to happen, and then whoosh, everything just goes downstream. The same thing happens with our practice, with whatever that frozen block is. The key is to just be the sunlight, be in that sunlight place for long enough and consistently. And that process of melting out just happens. And then we kind of enter into that place of being much more fluid, much more flowing. The stuff just kind of comes and goes more and more freely. So that's the path that Zen Master Hakuin is kind of pointing towards when he says, ordinary beings are like ice, Buddhas are like water. Awakened folks, more, it's a spectrum, of course. It's not one or the other, but it's moving more and more towards that fluidity, towards that stream that is flowing and rushing. So there's different ways of looking after that, but just having that, cultivating that gentleness, that kindness, that awareness of the different places that feel icy, feel frozen, is a really nice way to do it. Often people will do like a movement practice, like a Zen yoga practice can be really nice for kind of stretching and moving and bringing attention to these areas. So there's different ways to work with it, but in the springtime and year round, that image of shining the light within, the sunlight on the ice is a really nice way, I think, to work with your practice. We do melting the ice retreats in the springtime with Blue Cliff. We focus kind of a whole weekend on Zen yoga practices, meditation, kindness towards ourselves in different ways. We do some jinshin work, kind of working with the organ systems, the organ lines of the springtime. We do some reido, some spontaneous yoga practice in the schedule. We do journaling, those kinds of things. So this theme of melting the ice.